If we were starting on the A, D and G strings, it would be here. Hey guys, this lesson is all about chord, tone, soloing. And the thing about this is we're going to look at this in a dominant blues. Now, if you don't know what a dominant blues is, basically where you've got chord 1 is a 7th chord, chord 4 is a 7th chord, chord 5 is a 7th chord. And if we were going to do this in a key, and let's just pick one arbitrarily that's nice and easy for everybody. Let's say it's in the key of A. We've got an A7, a D7, and we're going to have an E7 as well. So those are the 3 chords in a dominant blues. Now, the problem that you have when you are soloing in a blues is that everybody just uses box 1. And it's hard to tell when the changes are coming. It's hard to hear that. You may have heard somebody talk about chord tone soloing and playing the changes or playing through the changes. It's a kind of 2 different things that are trying to get to the same point. And the thing is outlining the chords. What's cool is if you can hit a chord tone from a chord that is coming up, it creates anticipation. Perfectly demonstrated by Freddie King in Electric Boogie, I think it's called. He does that. He hangs on one note just before the chord change happens, and then when the chord lands, it sounds sweet. This is what I want to show you today in this lesson. So what we're going to do, we are going to use our humble minor pentatonic. I'm just going to quickly show you this thing from the 3 and 2 pentatonic lesson. If you've not seen that lesson yet, then I'll leave a link to that at the end of this video. But for the meantime, I'll just recap on what I mean by 3 and 2. We can easily divide the minor pentatonic pattern, box 1, the one that we all know and love. We can divide this up into 2 patterns, and those 2 patterns are what I call the 3 and the 2. I'm going to let you in on a secret. I think of the guitar as being a 5-string instrument. And this is going to make sense when I do this here. Because there's 3 and 2. Why didn't I colour that one in there, Ricky? That's an E string, and that's just a mirror of that one there. So really, that's the 5 strings. You could think of it in that way. But I've got a lesson coming up on that. So if you don't want to miss that, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. That is the mirror of that E string. Now, the thing that's cool about this is, let me just put the octave patterns in there as well. If that's the root note there, then what happens is it goes in there. That's the E-shaped octave, up 2 over 2, starting on the E string there. And we also get the same note there because that string and that string are mirrored. They're mirrors of each other. So 3, 2. We're only going to look at this bit, the blue bit here. We're only going to just take this out of here. Now, if I take this out of here, I'm going to show you where this lives. It's going to live in multiple areas. I'll keep that one there for now, but I'm going to just jump down here. So here, we're going to go over in string sets. So let's look at this one. This is our group of 3. I'm going to take that root note, bang it there. The reason we need to know where the root note is the root equals resolve. Now, because music is a language, when you talk to somebody, and especially if this is a blues, then when somebody asks a question, it doesn't resolve. And this is the way that blues works. It's call and response. So you've got call and response, or you can think of it as question and answer. An answer always seeks to resolve. A question never resolves. Question always leaves you thinking, what's going on? So we've got to understand where that is in context with this here. Because this blues is in the key of A there, then that is going to be the most resolved spot to go. When you go back to the A, it's going to feel like everything's nice and finished. The furthest away is this E7. That's going to sound like you need to go back to the A. That's how it wants to work. These are called cadences. I love the word cadence. Cadence means fall. How one chord falls to another. It also means you've had far too many drinky poos that night and you might cadence down the steps making your way home. We don't want that. So let's just plot this out here. There's the group of 3. That's what we want to know. But this isn't the only spot that this happens. I'm going to go through each string set. So that's the E, A and D strings. Let's move on to the place that we played it originally. I know I've done it up here, but I needed you to see it separately. So this is what we are thinking for chord 1. This is our safe zone. You only need to use fingers 1 and 3 for this. How cool is that? We've got A, D, G string there. Wonderful. Let's move on again. Oh, hang on. We have a problem because I haven't done enough fret things in there, but I'll just draw them in. You'll forgive me. And then we get this, and then we get that wonk that happens here. The wonky bit of the tuning in between here where we have to compensate up 1 fret. Got the D, the G and the B, and there is the root note on that one. Super. So we get this, and then we get this. This is how this pattern moves along there. You can see we get that group of 3. So this is using the 3. This is the 3 and 2. But what we're doing is we're looking at the 3. Looking at this power of 3. This is on the G, the B, and the E string. Hang on. See this here? I can mirror that over on this E string if I wanted to. Just to show you, that's the way it works. You don't have to. It's great if you find an idea here, then what you can do is you can just chuck it over onto the thick E string, and it's like an easy win. Now, the next one, this is the last one. If we imagine it going across here, E, A, D, G, B, E. If we had another string, it would be an A string because the guitar tunes in fourths. So it would be an A string, and that means that we would bring this over. Look, so you can see how it wraps around on itself. I call it the wraparound. So we've got that E string, which is this one. Boom, put that on there because it's just a mirror. But then we would have an A string, and that would be there. I hope this one makes sense because it's a little bit trickier to see. If we imagine that there was an A string, I draw it in pencil because then it doesn't really exist. Look, so we just put it in here. And you can see that's where it should go, and that would be an A string. So if we just take this bit here and then we shift it over there instead, then you can see that's the pattern we get. Look at that pattern. So that's what I mean by the guitar being a 5-stringed instrument. It is a 5-string instrument, and it just so happens that we get an extra one to play with. This is going to tell us where our resolve notes are. Remember I said A7 here. We want to resolve on that. So when we go to an A chord, that A7 there, especially near the end of phrases, then we need to be able to find the root note. And this here is the root note every time. And it just lives inside that group of 3. So you can see it lives there, it lives in that group, lives in that group there, and lives in those spots there as well. What we need though is a strategy for the D7 and this E7, the 4 chord and the 5 chord. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some chord tone soloing. This is what it's all about. And we're going to target specific notes. The root is resolve. The third is the emotion note. Third gives us the emotion of the chord. Whether that's a major third or a minor third, doesn't matter. Major third's going to give you an uplifting sound. Minor third's going to give you a sadder sound. We also get a fifth, and the fifth is padding. It's transparent. It doesn't add any colour. It's got no emotional value, which makes it a good neutral tone, if you will. Yeah, it doesn't say anything. It really doesn't. It's a nice note to go to before you go to the root note, though. That would make sense because that's linked to a 5/1 cadence, and that's called a perfect cadence. Ooh, if I can write it. Rub that out. There we go. Beautiful. I'd already written it up there. I don't know why I was bothering so much down here. Okay, here's the strategy. On the A7, because it's the resolving sound, we're going to aim for the root. When we're on an A7, if we want to end a phrase, we want to land on that root. But on the D7 and the E7, we're going to go for the third of each of these chords because those are the emotion notes. What we're doing is we're setting up our stall with the A7. That's where we're saying this is the foundation of this sound, but we're going to go away a little bit. So we're going to move outside, move away from that sound. And when we move away from that sound, that creates tension because that's what music's all about. It's all about tension and release. So we're always trying to create tension and release. And if you think about it, if somebody asks you a question and it's like, why is that £500 gone from the bank account? And you know you've bought a guitar and hidden it in a wardrobe, then getting to this answer bit might be a bit hard. There might be a lot of questioning going on. We know that might happen unless you're like my very good wife and this is my job, so I just buy a guitar. I'm very lucky. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to look at this idea here and we're going to superimpose where these chords live. So we had that there. But what I want to show you is that this is the root note for the D7 chord, or for the 4 chord. We're going to think of it as the 4 chord. But then what happens is we get this shape. If you are enjoying my lessons here on YouTube, you might consider supporting my work on the channel and purchasing my ultimate guitar lesson book, which has got 80 lessons that are here on my YouTube channel. Let's get back to the video. This here is part of a C shape. So that is part of a C shape. I'll show you what I mean by a C shape. This is the C shape. And then when we put that flat 7 on there, root, third, flat 7, root, boom, boom. You can see that that's how we get that 7th chord there. And what I'm doing is I'm just borrowing that little shape there. I'm not interested in that one because I've already got a root there. Why would I need another one? But the note that I am interested in is this one here, the third, that one there. And where that lives, because this is the crux of it. We are sticking to this little 3-string pattern here, this string set. And then what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the third of the 4 chords. So this is the 4 chord, which in this instance is this one here. We're going to look at this here. And this is the third of the 4 chord. D and E, they're a step apart. Chord 4 and chord 5, they're always a step apart. It's really simple, actually. That is going to be the root note for the 5 chord. And it's going to use the same shape. So let's just plonk that in there as well. So you can see the third of the 5 chord lives there, and those become the notes that we need to target. All I need to do now really is fill this out. But if you understand this in its truest sense, and I'd actually recommend you start with this one first, because this one lives in your box 1 of your minor pentatonic that you know and love so well. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put here 4. That's the third of chord 4. This here is the third of chord 5. We're not adding extra massive stuff to this scale here, are we really? We're just moving outside that pattern there, but in doing so, you'll manage to hear us changing through these chords. You'll hear the changes. I'll put this one here. This is 4, this is 5. Same again here. It's very easy to see because we've just got this group of 3. Look at where the root note is for chord 1. That's the root note for chord 1. Put that on there just to show you. Chord 1, 7. We've got the 4 here, 5 here. Same again, 5 goes there. I can even do it the other way around because I'm fancy pants like that. Let's do it on this one. Chord 4 here, chord 5 here. Because this is on an E string, this is an E string. Let's switcheroo around there as well. Let's put that on there. Bang. Because this is the minor pentatonic, and this one here is linked to this. Then you're going to start to see the other pentatonic boxes where these fit into and where this fits into. It's your job to seek these out. But if you look, you think on, I could put this one in here. And just fill this out there. Look, there's the 2. Come on, guys. Look how easy it is. Boom, boom. That's the major pentatonic. It's telling you where these notes are. And this gives you little launch points and places to start this whole journey from for finding these notes. Let's put this in here, this one in here, this one in here. Hopefully you can start to name these box patterns. This one's a little bit of a monkey because I haven't drawn enough frets for this to fit in. Forgive me for adding them on with my pen. I know it's scruffy. Oh, I didn't do the mirroring. Let me just put that over there. There's where the 2 goes in. So it's always about these 3s and 2s. But now what we've got is we've got a way of finding the third of chord 4 and chord 5 so that we can move into those chords convincingly. And it's not just some sort of ramshackle way of doing this. Now, not saying that the third is the only note that you want to do this with. You might want to say, okay, let's take this to the next logical step. The next logical step would be to stick to chord tones because that's what we're talking about here. Chord structure, triad, and then we get a 7th. Well, if we look at these shapes here, root there, third, flat 7's here. We could look at that, flat 7's there. If you want to target a flat 7, then that's great. Because the flat 7 is an emotion note. It's like the third, and this is why 7th chords are so lovely, really, because you've got a foundation note that's resolving, a 5th that is transparent that's adding weight to that root. And you need to look at the harmonic series, really, to understand how that works. And then we get this flat 7 and this third, and this mix of emotions. When we muck around with them, whether they're minor thirds, major thirds, or minor 7ths, or major 7ths, then we get a few different possibilities of what we can do with different chords. And you should hopefully see that this chord tone soloing idea, working it around this blues, is going to be pretty cool. But when we want to switch it up, then we can think about adding this in as well. That might be for a future lesson. But for now, I'm going to demonstrate this and then you can hear it and then add it to your own playing and widen your own vocabulary. You're going to sound wonderful. That's what it's all about. Here's the A7. And then if I was to play that minor pentatonic over the top, then that would live there, which would be great. But what we're just doing, like I say, is taking out this 3 pattern. And we know that the root note for that is here, because that is the root note of this chord. And you could just stick to those if you want. Now look. There is the D7 chord, or the 4 chord if you will, but look at where that is in relative position to the 3. And you can hear that going from this flat 7 of this minor pentatonic into the third of that D7 gives us that resolve that we need for this chord. And And if you play this slightly before the 4 chord comes in, then you will get that great sound. Now this note here sounds a little bit out on its own until I play the E7, which is that chord 5. There are 5 positions you want to learn this in. If we were starting on the E, A and D strings, it would be here. If we were starting on the A, D and G strings, it would be here. If we were starting on the D string, it would be here. There's the chord 5. If we were starting on the G strings, it would be here. If